Maybe you're thinking, the threes in my life don't really need encouragement. They're hurrying through their day, checking off their to-do list, and reaching for the stars. But that's where you'd be wrong, because behind that busy bee exterior of the three in your life is a sensitive and vulnerable person who longs to feel worthy of love. So in this video, I'm gonna share 5 ways you can better love the Enneagram 3 in your life in the hopes that we can encourage them to base their worth on who they are and not what they do. Which is a pretty hard task, to be honest, because early on, sometime in their childhood, 3s experienced what it felt like to be praised for an accomplishment. And OMG, that feeling rocked them. It was addictive, it was attractive, it soothed all of those bad feelings that were constantly telling them, you're not enough. As a 3 myself, I remember the first time I ever felt this way. I was in a kid's production of A Midsummer Night's Dream, and after the show, you go into the lobby with your makeup on and your street clothes, and my friends and family were there. They gave me compliments. They were like, wow, it was so good. I got flowers. Let me tell you that nothing, I repeat, nothing has ever felt as rewarding as that moment. I didn't realize it then, but what I was doing was forming this lifelong habit of equating my worth with my accomplishments, which is why you'll see 3s striving so much, going after their goals, trying to fit as much as possible into every day. But, and I'm sorry to say, in the long term, this is an incredibly unhealthy way to live your life. Because the truth is, and I know it's hard to hear, 3s, if you're listening, but we are human beings, not human doings. And treating yourself like a machine that's only on this earth to accomplish stuff is a recipe to burn out and be sad forever. So an amazing way to show true love to your Enneagram 3 is to say, hey, I love you for who you are. Like, I know you've accomplished all these things, but to be honest, if you hadn't, I would still love you just the way you are. I love you for you, not for what you do. This speaks to a 3's soul message that they are enough simply for being who they are and not for what they check off their to-do list. However, I'm not telling you to never give 3s words of affirmation, because it is an incredible love language, and even 3s who deeply know that their worth isn't based on their accomplishments still appreciate a good word of affirmation. They need some encouragement too. It all goes back to a 3's core desire to be successful, admired, and valuable. It's why when John tells me he's proud of me and gives me specific reasons why, I melt inside and I feel like crying. So tip number 2, in addition to affirming that their worth is not based on what they do, is to pepper in words of affirmation. But make sure to give them specific intentional reasons behind that affirmation. We're not here for vague platitudes, people. Also, encouragement can come in many forms, like a little text message throughout the day that says, you got this, a post-it on the dashboard of their car with an inside joke, or a bouquet of flowers with a note that says, I appreciate everything you do for our family. But a big part of both of these tips includes being aware of what's going on with your loved one. It's something I love about the Enneagram. It gives us these tools to recognize when the people in our life are moving into an unhealthy spot. For example, when Enneagram 3s are thriving and growing, they stop basing their worth on their accomplishments and they start leaning into the relationships in their lives, leaning into community. This might look like acts of service, loyalty, and a willingness to seek support when they're struggling. That, surprisingly, can be really hard for 3s to be like, hey, I suck at this, or I'm not doing very well, and putting down that front of I'm perfect, I'm polished, I've got everything under control. When 3s are able to let that go and actually ask for help, that is a sign of insane growth. This is a 3 going to their growth arrow, type 6. If you're new to Enneagram arrows, I'll link a video right here that will give you a simple explanation. And knowing about arrows can also help you figure out if your 3 is slipping into that unhealthy spot. In this case, it would be the unhealthy qualities of a type 9. So 3s will start to numb out, they're gonna stay busy, but they're not doing anything of substance, and they start getting really easily frustrated. So tip number 3 is to keep an eye out for these signs. If they do desire personal growth, I don't think they'd mind a gentle directional reminder that they need to, kind of check in on what's going on inside. And sometimes the best solution for moving from your stress arrow to your growth arrow is to address the root cause. A 3's worst enemy, burnout. And despite what common advice tells us, the fix for this is not self-care. Because according to researchers Emily and Amelia Nagoski, who wrote my favorite book, Burnout, you can't self-care your way out of burnout. You just can't. The real cure is community. Amelia calls it a bubble of love. People who care about your well-being, who will turn towards you and be like, hey, you need a break. Let me help you with that. So if you see that your 3 is inching towards burnout, this is your big sign to step up. Invite them to spend an intentional day of rest with you, or even better, help them complete the stress cycle with exercise. Go for a hike, a dance class, a long walk around the neighborhood, and ask them to unburden themselves with all of their worries and problems. Sometimes just 15 minutes to yell about all the things that are frustrating you in your life and have someone on the other end of that being like, yeah, that totally sucks. That in itself is enough to lighten the load, and that is community. But there's also a more tangible way that you can lighten the load. And in this case, the load might look more like a load of laundry, perhaps? Because type 3s operate at their best when their home is clean and organized. For me, I feel most inspired, motivated, and at peace when my surroundings are in order. So right now, as we get ready for our baby to come and our house is full of new furniture and lots of baby stuff and packages, just like stuff everywhere, and like it's a lot, and I am definitely feeling it in my mental health because I'm like, oh, I don't have control over my space. You know, it's not tidy, it's not orderly, and it's really putting a damper on my inner peace. So that is a note for all people who live with 3s, because they can't focus on anything when there's that constant to-do list of like, oh, I need to do that, I need to do that this load of laundry needs to happen. Like the to-do list is just like assaulting them at all times. So tip number 5 is, if you share a home with a 3, to wash the dishes, put the laundry away right after you do it, regularly scrub down the shower. These are just examples, obviously, but any way that you can contribute to a peaceful, clean home, that's good. Do that. But if you're in a romantic partnership with a 3, you know that even with all of these tips, there's still going to be bumps in the road. Because there are hard parts of being with a 3, things that make it difficult to communicate and to have compassion for each other. Which is why in this next video, I break down the most difficult obstacles about being with a 3 and what to do about it.